In August 2025, Ukrainian intelligence launched an operation so audacious that even the President of the United States, a man not known for praising Ukraine publicly, called it privately one of the most impressive military operations he had ever seen. The operation was called Spiderweb. Ukrainian pilots remotely guided explosive drones that had been smuggled inside ordinary trucks deep into Russian territory, past radar networks, past air defense systems, past every layer of protection Russia had built, directly onto the tarmacs of Russian strategic bomber airfields. In a single coordinated operation, Ukraine destroyed dozens of Russian warplanes as they sat parked on the ground. Aircraft that had been launching missiles at Ukrainian cities. Aircraft that represented billions of dollars of Russian military investment. Aircraft that Russia could not quickly replace. Donald Trump heard about Spiderweb, and he was impressed. That private conversation between Trump and Ukrainian officials was the moment that changed everything. Because 8 months later, this week, the United States and Ukraine have drafted a landmark defense memorandum that represents the most significant shift in American military doctrine in decades. The deal says this: Ukraine's drones are better than America's. America needs Ukraine's technology. And together, the two countries are going to build something that will reshape the future of warfare. Welcome to the Intel Room. Tonight, we are going to break down exactly what this deal contains, the extraordinary military numbers behind it, and why what Ukraine has built in 4 years of war against Russia is something the American defense industry, with all its funding, all its technology, and all its resources, could not replicate on its own. Before we go any further, drop a comment right now. Did you know that one Ukrainian company alone plans to manufacture more than 3 million military drones in 2026? And that America, the most powerful military nation in history, built only 300,000? Tell me in the comments, does that number surprise you? Start with the deal itself because the details are extraordinary. The United States State Department and Ukrainian ambassador to the U.S., Ola Stefanishina, have drafted a memorandum of understanding, a formal framework document that lays out the terms of a new defense partnership between Washington and Kyiv. Under this agreement, Ukraine would be permitted to export its military technology directly to the United States Armed Forces. Ukraine would be permitted to manufacture drones in joint ventures with American defense companies on American soil. And American financing, through the Pentagon, through the U.S.-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund, and through direct defense procurement contracts, would be used to scale Ukraine's production capacity to levels that would make it one of the most significant drone manufacturers on Earth. This is not a weapons purchase agreement. This is not America buying Ukrainian drones. This is a technology transfer and co-manufacturing framework, the kind of agreement that the United States has historically only offered to its most advanced defense partners: Japan, South Korea, the United Kingdom, Israel. Ukraine is now in that category. And the specific reason that overcame years of Pentagon reluctance to engage with Ukrainian defense technology is what happened when the United States went to war with Iran on February 28, 2026. When U.S. and Israeli forces struck Iran at the start of the conflict, Iran's primary retaliatory weapon was the Shahed drone. The Shahed is an Iranian-designed kamikaze drone, a one-way attack platform that flies on a programmed route and detonates on impact. Russia had been using Shahed drones against Ukraine for 2 years, launching them in swarms of dozens to overwhelm air defenses and strike Ukrainian cities and infrastructure. Ukraine knew the Shahed intimately. It had spent 2 years developing counter-drone systems specifically optimized to detect, track, and destroy Shahed drones at scale. It had built electronic warfare platforms that jammed their guidance systems. It had trained operators who understood the flight patterns, the approach vectors, the vulnerabilities of the weapon. When Iran began launching Shaheds against U.S. allies in the Gulf, the same drones, the same tactics, the same threat, Ukraine had something no other country on Earth had at that moment: combat-proven operational experience defeating the exact weapon that was now threatening American allies in the Middle East. Ukraine sent drone interceptors and trained pilots to the region. U.S. allies, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, found themselves defending against Iranian Shaheds using Ukrainian counter-drone technology operated by Ukrainian-trained crews. It worked. And the Pentagon, which had previously been dismissive of Ukrainian drone technology, which had previously resisted deeper engagement with Ukrainian defense manufacturers, suddenly had a different perspective. Ukrainian officials first pitched the idea of cooperation on drones to the White House in August 2025, after President Trump privately praised Operation Spiderweb, a daring Ukrainian drone attack deep behind Russian lines that saw Ukrainian pilots remotely guide explosive drones deployed from trucks smuggled into Russia to destroy dozens of Russian warplanes on tarmacs across the country. That pitch gained no momentum in 2025. Trump even boasted publicly that we know more about drones than anyone else. Then the Iran war started, and America found out that was not entirely true. Now let us talk about the numbers, because this is where the intel room goes deeper than any headline. The numbers behind this deal are the most important part of the story, and they are genuinely shocking. One Ukrainian manufacturer alone plans to produce more than 3 million low-cost, first-person view military drones in 2026. The US built only 300,000 in all of 2025. Read those numbers again. One Ukrainian company, 3 million drones in a single year. The United States, the country with the world's largest defense budget, with the most sophisticated military-industrial base, with the most advanced aerospace manufacturing capacity, built 300,000. One Ukrainian manufacturer built 10 times more than the entire United States military. This is not because America lacks the resources to produce drones. America spends more than $800 billion per year on defense. The gap exists because of doctrine, not capability. Because of organizational culture, not industrial capacity. Because of institutional inertia, not technical limitation. The United States military built its drone programs around large, sophisticated, expensive platforms. The Reaper, the Global Hawk, the MQ-8. Highly capable systems that cost tens of millions of dollars each, produced in the dozens or hundreds, not the millions. Ukraine faced a completely different problem. It needed to field drone capabilities at industrial scale, with minimal cost per unit, in the shortest possible time, under active combat conditions where every weakness would be immediately exposed and every innovation would be immediately tested. The result was an entirely different approach to drone warfare. Cheap, mass-produced, constantly iterating, built from commercial components, operated by trained civilians alongside military personnel. Improved week to week based on real battlefield feedback from real engagements against a real enemy. 3 million drones from one manufacturer. America built 300,000. The Pentagon finally admitted the obvious. Ukraine knows something about this that America does not. Tell me in the comments, does it concern you that America is behind Ukraine in drone production capability? Because the implications of that gap go far beyond this specific deal. But the drone production numbers are only part of what makes Ukraine's military technology so valuable to the United States. The other part is electronic warfare, and specifically, what Ukraine has built to make its drones invisible to Russian jamming. Russia has some of the most sophisticated electronic warfare capabilities on Earth. GPS jamming, signal disruption, counter-drone electronic attack systems. The ability to identify, jam, and redirect enemy drones by flooding the electromagnetic spectrum with interference. For much of the war, Russian jamming was a serious problem for Ukrainian drone operations. Drones relying on GPS for navigation would lose their positioning fix, veer off course, or be captured by Russian counter-drone systems. So Ukraine fixed it. Technology pioneered by Sign Engineering, a Ukrainian defense firm that recently received a multi-million-dollar investment from the U.S.-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund, allows drones to fly without GPS guidance to evade signal jamming. Drones that navigate without GPS. Using inertial navigation, visual recognition, machine learning, and terrain matching to find their targets through environments where GPS signals are completely blocked. This is not theoretical technology. This is not a research project. This is a combat-proven capability that has been used operationally in the most electronically contested battle space in modern history, the front line of the Ukraine-Russia war, against an adversary that has spent decades developing electronic warfare systems specifically designed to defeat this capability. And Ukraine beat it. The Pentagon's Drone Dominance Initiative, a $1.1 billion program to accelerate American drone capabilities, has already invited Ukrainian companies to participate. Several Ukrainian companies have already presented their technologies in the U.S. In March, General Cherry signed an agreement to manufacture drones in the U.S. in partnership with the American defense contractor Wilcox Industries. This is not a future plan. It is already happening. Ukrainian drone technology is being manufactured on American soil right now. Now, let us talk about Operation Spiderweb in detail, because this is the operation that started everything, and the Intel Room wants you to fully understand what Ukraine actually did. In August 2025, Ukrainian military intelligence identified a specific vulnerability in Russia's strategic bomber program. Russia's strategic bombers, the Tu-95s, the Tu-22Ms, the Su-34s that had been launching cruise missiles and glide bombs at Ukrainian cities, were parked at airfields inside Russia, beyond the range of conventional Ukrainian strikes. Russia believed they were safe there, too far inside Russian territory to be reached, too well protected by air defense systems to be struck from the air. Ukraine went around all of it. Ukrainian operatives smuggled ordinary-looking trucks into Russian territory. Inside those trucks were explosive drones, not launched from Ukraine, not tracked crossing the border, not visible to any radar system because they were transported by road until they were already inside Russia. At a coordinated moment, the trucks stopped. The drones launched. They flew directly to the nearby airfields, and they struck the bombers on the ground. Russia lost dozens of strategic aircraft in an operation that used no missiles, no manned aircraft, no conventional military assets visible to Russian detection systems. Trucks, drones, and 4 years of operational innovation that no conventional military power had yet figured out. Trump heard about it privately and called it one of the most impressive operations he had ever seen. He used that exact description to Ukrainian officials who briefed him on the details. 8 months later, that private conversation has produced the draft memorandum that now sits on desks in Washington and Kyiv awaiting final approval. The scale of what Zelensky is building through these drone deals goes far beyond the United States agreement, and the Intel Room has been tracking this from the beginning. Zelensky said nearly 20 countries are currently involved at various stages. 4 agreements have already been signed, and the first contracts under these agreements are now being prepared. The countries that have already signed: Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Lithuania. The regions under active negotiation: the South Caucasus, Europe, the Middle East and Gulf. And Zelensky announced this week that deals in another part of the world are being finalized, widely interpreted as referring to Asia, where countries watching both the Russia-Ukraine war and the China-Taiwan situation are urgently updating their drone capabilities. Ukraine's National Security Council projects a defense production capacity of $55 billion in 2026. To realize that capacity, Ukraine will need much more external financing, as Kyiv currently only has funds to buy around $15 billion worth of weapons this year. The drone deals, with the US, the Gulf states, European partners, and others, are Ukraine's strategy for closing that $40 billion gap. For every dollar of American financing that flows into Ukrainian drone production, Ukraine gets to build more weapons for its own defense, while simultaneously supplying allies with the most battle-tested military technology available anywhere on Earth. This is Ukraine's transformation from a country being defended to a country that arms the world. The Intel Room will not leave out the corruption angle because it is part of the honest picture. Even as Ukraine builds this extraordinary defense export program, its own anti-corruption agencies are investigating. An erupting corruption scandal involving Zelensky's inner circle appears to involve some of Ukraine's drone makers. Seaman Krivonis, director of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, told reporters that the probe involving a former chief of staff spanned the energy and defense sectors, and that numerous Ukrainian weapons manufacturers, including drone companies, were under investigation for possible corruption. This matters. Ukraine is not a perfect partner. Its defense procurement system has faced serious corruption allegations. But Ukraine's anti-corruption institutions are investigating publicly. The National Anti-Corruption Bureau is active and transparent about its findings. That institutional capacity for self-investigation is itself a sign of a country trying to meet the standards its Western partners require. Whether it succeeds in cleaning up the defense sector while simultaneously scaling production to meet the demands of its new global role, the Intel Room will track it. Step back now and look at the full picture. 4 years ago, Ukraine had no meaningful drone capability. It had a few Turkish Bayraktar TB2 drones that became famous in the early days of the war and have since been superseded by dozens of Ukrainian-developed systems. It had no drone industry, no mass production capability, no electronic warfare expertise specifically built around drone operations. Today, in May 2026, Ukraine has one manufacturer planning to build 3 million FPV drones in a single year, GPS-free navigation technology that penetrates Russian jamming, technology that the United States is now purchasing, Electronic warfare systems that neutralize Russian glide bomb guidance mid-flight. Maritime drones that drove Russia's Black Sea Fleet out of Crimea and are now being deployed in the Gulf of Oman against Iranian maritime tactics. Counter-drone interceptors that are defending U.S. allies against the same Iranian Shaheds that Russia has been using against Ukraine for 2 years. Defense agreements with 20 countries across 4 continents. A $1.1 billion Pentagon program that has selected Ukrainian companies as priority suppliers. And a draft memorandum with the United States of America that says, officially, formally, in writing at the State Department level, that Ukraine's drone technology is something America needs. Trump said America knew more about drones than anyone else. The deal his administration just drafted says the opposite. Ukraine knows something America does not. And the war that was supposed to destroy Ukraine in 72 hours has instead transformed it into one of the most important military technology partners on Earth. Operation Spiderweb started it. 3 million drones will continue it. And the deal now sitting on desks in Washington and Kyiv is the moment it became official. This is the intel room. We go where the intelligence takes us, and we report what the briefings actually mean. If this analysis gave you clarity that the mainstream headlines left out, subscribe to the Intel Room right now and hit the notification bell. Because this deal is just the beginning of a transformation in modern warfare that will define the next decade. We will be watching.